Hello, hello. Welcome to the tutorial part of our episode. I'm going to be showing you how to do is what's sometimes called the backwards loop cast on, the E cast on, that sort of thing. So what we're going to do is we're going to start with a slip knot. So to do a slip knot, we're going to take our yarn, wrap it around once, make your slip knot by pulling the loop through. So it's kind of like an overhand knot with a little loop in it. And there we go. First stitch cast on. So in this cast on, the slip knot counts as your first stitch. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold your working yarn. So this is the yarn that's ending towards the ball. Your tail is over here. I just like to hold it against my needle to keep it out of the way. So to do the backwards, you're going to grab your yarn. You're going to take your thumb, go over and around. So that way you've got a little twist there. And you are going to pick it up using your needle. And then you got one loop here. So you can do that again. Over and around, and you can just keep casting on. So that's 4 stitches. It's a really fast cast on. Yeah. So things that you want to keep in mind when you're doing this cast on is that this motion is going to untwist your yarn if your yarn is plied S twist. So most commercially spun yarns is spun Z and plied S. So using this cast on, as you notice, it's starting to untwist my yarn. So if I just do a bunch of stitches over and over and over and not let that twist back into the ball as a whole, it starts to untwist here. Okay? You will find that if you are doing this left-handed, so if you switch everything, it's going to add twist just because of how things work here. So keep in mind that when you're doing this twist, that you want to not hold on to your yarn all the time. You want to get some of that twist to return into your knitting by letting go every so often. So every 3, 4, 5 stitches. So that way you still have some twist in your yarn. Because if you look really close, I don't know, it's gonna let, yeah. If you look really close, that some of my stitches here start with a nice amount of twist. And then as I get towards the end here, you can see that this yarn that I'm using is starting to unply. And then it's gonna be a little troublesome to pick up your stitches here. So that's a little pro tip. And then when you're working with this type of cast on, let's pull this in the way so you can see, this type of cast on does not count as the first row of knitting. So when it tells you to cast on 40 stitches and you use this cast on, then you cast on and then you start with row 1. So a thing that you'll keep in mind for this cast on here is, one, if you've unplied it like I have here, you're going to be splitting your stitches quite a bit. So you want to keep that in mind. And the other thing you'll want to keep in mind here is that as you are working the first row of this cast on, if you are pulling your stitches too much, you're going to have a really hard time. Because what I just did there is I'm knitting here. If I pull this out, it's going to tighten up this bottom stitch here, and you're going to have this great big long strand. And then it's going to make it harder to pick up your stitch there. Okay? So you want to make sure that you keep that in mind, that you keep your work close to the tips of your needles, as close as you can comfortably keep them. So that way you don't end up with like great big long ladders in here. If you drop a stitch here, it's hard to know where to pick the back up. It's a bit of a pain in the butt to make it work well. So what you're going to do is you're going to take your working needle, go under it and pick it up like that. And then you're going to take your offhand needle and you're going to pick up the back. And the reason why you do it that way is you want to have your stitches going, like looping the same direction. It's not super important. You could pick it up the other way, go this way. But you'll notice that it's mounted different. This one comes up, down this way and back around. And this one is going from behind, up and around the other way. It's mounting your stitch in properly. So you do want to go under your stitch and pick it up like that. So that way it mounts it properly. So that's how you fix that. So that is the backwards loop cast on.